Welcome to the Teaching Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, Cindy Homberg-Smith. Think of me as that teacher bestie navigating together the magical moments and messiness of teacher life. If you are looking to upgrade your life, whether that's inside or outside of the classroom, then you have come to the right place. It's my intention in this podcast to bring you all the topics, because as we know, teachers are a big mixed bag of interest after that lanyard comes off at the 3 p.m. bell. So please come pull up a chair around my table and let's talk teacher life at Teaching Unfiltered. This podcast is sponsored by Lizard Learning Publishing. Rightio, let's jump right into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the next episode of Teaching Unfiltered. This episode, we are talking about managing that teaching overload. I'm not sure how many strategies I have here in my notes, but I'm going to say quite a few as I quickly drafted out every tip, strategy, and idea I could think of that will help you with actionable steps to get a grip on your tasks in your teaching life, from what's needed for today, what can wait for tomorrow, what can hold off until next week, and what are the tasks that can be shelved even for now, or what can be ditched altogether. I wish I could say all of the tasks could be ditched, but we know as teachers this is never going to happen. Whether you're an experienced teacher or just starting out, you know that teaching is a lot. There is no teacher that has it all together. I suffered comparisonitis when I was a full-time teacher. I was 29 after a career in my 20s as a registered nurse. Every teacher in the staff room, they looked chilled and looked relaxed at lunchtime. They looked as though they had a full lesson plan of ideas to implement after the break. The photocopy room is full of teachers with these engaging and amazing worksheets that they'd created over the weekend. Teachers who had their report cards finished well before I was starting. They were out in the courtyard using the sun to create different angles, and here I was still just planning on how to make such a lesson interesting. It was exhausting to compare myself daily to every other teacher. But when I realized after years of teaching and many conversations later that there is no teacher on top of it all, there is no teacher with that to-do list finished, no teacher not thinking about their classroom full of students at their yoga class, no teacher wondering where they are going to find more time to be ready for that meeting or have the paperwork all filled out in time for that field trip. If you are in comparisonitis right now, which I suffered from every single day, this is your permission to finally stop these thoughts. They don't help. They certainly don't get the jobs done any faster and are a complete waste of energy. Where you are in your teaching is exactly where you need to be. And when you can do better, you will do better. Okay. Managing teacher overload can be challenging, but there are actionable steps that can help plan ahead to reduce the stress and maintain some kind of balance to enjoy teaching. Hopefully with these strategies, once you implement, you'll be tagging me at Lizard Learning and telling me how they have changed your life and that you're walking out at 3 p.m. most days. But that's what we aim for anyway. So let's get started. I'm going to say my number one strategy or technique for managing my week was to batch plan. Try to plan your lessons and prepare your activities that you do consistently in the classroom for an entire week or even a month ahead of time. Do those in the holidays. You might want to do them on the weekends, but then you're taking up the weekend. You've got a whole 2 weeks to do them several times a year, and then you've got obviously the 6-week holidays. This is something you can definitely do. You just have to have a bit of motivation to get them done. That way you won't be scrambling last minute to figure out what to teach in the next session, which is like 5 minutes away. And that truth bomb is, and total transparency is, I have done that way too many times to admit, and I think that most of us have. But take a screenshot of this episode and tag me at Lizard Learning and say, I have procrastinated and you are not alone. And I can share that and we'll all have a giggle. One, I'll know that you've been listening to the podcast. Thank you very much. But two, we can also help other teachers to make this conversation normalized, that we're not prepared all the time. However, we can use simple strategies to help us be, because that's just going to reduce our overwhelm. If you haven't watched the masterclass yet, hit up the masterclass link below. It's ready to go now. It's over a little bit over an hour. You can listen to 5 ways to create ease in your teacher life. And the first strategy I talk about in depth is the art of batching. Seriously, you can save like 30 hours a week. No joke. So check the links below to the masterclass and start watching it. Stay here for the episode. Listen to this all the way through. Now, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. I love this saying. Of course, I was definitely not on the ball all the time. I would ditch the planning on my holidays for days on the couch, for walking aimlessly around the shopping centre, for days at the beach and nights spent at the movies. And yes, there were times When that last weekend of the 2 weeks holidays were upon me and I was running about trying to get organised, and you would think that I would learn after all those years, but I didn't. But when I was all inspired on those holidays and eager to work on my holidays, I found if I batched my planning for my spelling worksheets, my homework sheets, and my reading groups, these were really my consistent activities that were my non-negotiables through the day. I would then photocopy them all and I would place them all into their folders in class sets. And this was a huge chunk of work done that I wasn't doing during the term. Not to mention a massive reduction in nervous energy at 7 a.m. each morning, wondering if that darn photocopier was going to be my best friend each morning. And this was not a great way to start my day, already stressed and often behind because there was always usually a lineup at that photocopier as well. This is a Take Action podcast and interactive. That's how we move the needle on change, when we actually sit down and take some actionable steps to make change happen. Let's stop for a moment and I want you to write down 3 ways that you could plan ahead so your week is organized before you start. Something like, I could create each week's homework sheets and have them ready in a folder to email each week, or better still, go and purchase the 10 Quick Questions a Day program. There's no planning of homework needed. It's 5 literacy and 5 numeracy questions are already covered for you every day, years 1 to 6. Throw a note on the end of the worksheet that you expect the kids to read for 15 minutes each night, and you are done, my friend. Your homework sheets are finished. I tell you, I will always look after you and your teacher overload. Go to the shop and you can download that and implement that straight away today, next week, whenever you want to. Plus, your parents will love you because they get to see the work their child is doing each day. I don't know why parents love to see this stuff, but just quietly when my daughter's homework comes in, because it gets emailed to me from her teacher, Mr. Bickers, and I ask her if she knows what to do. I hope she says yes. And then I just let her get on with it like she's year 5. So it's really teaching her that independent learning. I mean, I don't know. Is that bad parenting? Don't shoot me or send me lots of DMs about it if it is. Take a screenshot of this episode and share your tips to your stories and tag Lizard Learning on Instagram and list ways that you manage your week so you aren't so overwhelmed. Now, I am actually going to give you 2 more that I've just thought off the top of my head. I see the big thing on Instagram are these good morning PowerPoints and PowerPoints with activities on them. Create and duplicate these slides on the holidays where you can throughout your teaching day or for your teaching day, and have them done the term ahead. Or, like I've already mentioned, just buy resources so you aren't reinventing the wheel. They could be my resources at Lizard Learning, but you must have a system for revising, practicing, and consolidating the work that you've previously taught. Because students only learn between 2 or 3 new concepts every day. That again is the 10 Quick Questions a Day program. It's planned for you with a curriculum aligned, revises and consolidates and practices all your weekly work with no planning, no reinventing the wheel. And there's about 20 minutes into your day that you don't have to do some planning for. Or it could be other resources that you absolutely love. Whatever it is that makes your teacher life easier, then do it. It's all about working smarter and not harder. So number 2, example for reducing your teacher overwhelm, set realistic goals. Setting realistic goals for the work you have to do. Set achievable goals for each day, for each week, or each month. Time for a quick break, but I will be right back with today's episode. Hey, if you have enjoyed my podcast so far, I please ask you to subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen. This helps us reach more listeners to inspire, motivate and empower. I encourage you to tag your friends and give the podcast a 5-star review, as this will really help this little podcast grow. If you find any value today, please take a screenshot of the episode with the comment that resonated and share on Instagram at lizard_learning. My love language are words of affirmation, so I love receiving your messages, your kind words, and to know that I'm bringing you content that will move the needle from where you are to where you wish to be in teacher life. Thank you so very much for listening. Once again, get that pen and paper out. Make 3 things a must to do today, and you just do them first. They are your non-negotiables. I love the book Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. He says to eat the frog, which means to do those tasks that you don't want to do and do them first thing in the morning. Then it is going to be so much easier to take action on the tasks that you have left for the day, because those are the tasks that you actually enjoy doing. Number 3, create a schedule. Create a schedule for yourself that includes time for work, rest, and leisure activities. Stick to your schedule as much as possible to avoid burnout. I listen mostly to business coaches and motivational speakers on podcasts and YouTube, etc. And I constantly have someone inspiring me in my ears at all times. And these people are the people that help me with all of these tips and strategies that I talk about in this podcast and that I will be talking about in this podcast. Like, this is nothing new. I hear about this information and then I just put my own experiences and my own. Here are a few of these people, just in case you're looking for new people to follow. I know I digress a little bit, but it's also really helpful. I love to hear the people or recommendations of great motivational people to speak to. There's Marie Forleo, there's Ed Milet, Mel Robbins, Brian Tracy, The Muscle. There is Lewis Howe, Abraham Hicks, Rhonda Byrne, so many people, Anthony Robbins. Each one of them will say to break your day into 15-minute chunks and fill every 15-minute slot with an activity. This is from the moment you wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock to, let's say, you go to bed at 10 o'clock. I wake up at 5, I go to bed about 10. But it's about sitting down with a calendar and for every 15 minutes have an activity or something that you are doing. It might be a staff meeting, for example. This takes up 4 of those 15-minute slots. Your maths lesson takes up 2 of those 15-minute slots. Lunch, 3 of those 15-minute slots. Playground duty, and so on. You get the picture at school. Then do that between 5 and, say, when you leave for school at 7:30, and then do that 15-minute slots again, allocating every 15 minutes from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. I suggest 3 p.m., that first 15-minute slot, you are to do nothing. This is to just calm your thoughts, regulate that nervous system, and just take a chill pill after what you've probably just experienced that day. If what you do in that 15 minutes, just schedule in. It does not matter what you are doing. We aren't placing any shame on your 15-minute slots and what activity that you are doing in that slot. But we are going to take accountability for each slot as well. If 12 of those slots are Netflix binging on the weekend or after 3 o'clock, that's okay. But you then must take accountability on Monday when you aren't prepared for your lessons or that meeting isn't prepared for. There is no shame though, but this is a great way to see that we actually do have the time to fit in our goals and our dreams. We do have time for exercise and for our mindfulness work and to, walk on the beach with our shoes off to ground our energy. And if we aren't achieving our goals and our dreams and the things that we want to do, then we're actually just choosing not to. We're not making it a priority. And that's also okay. When things get measured, things get improved, and that's when we can start to make the changes in our life. Now, number 4 is prioritizing tasks. Kind of like the Brian Tracy philosophy above, create a list of all the tasks that you need to complete, then prioritize them based on their importance and urgency. What I would do, again, go and grab your pen and paper and create 3 columns with the heading. 1 heading, today. 2nd heading, this week. And 3rd heading, by the end of the month. This will help you stay focused on the most important tasks for today and avoid feeling overwhelmed by less important ones that aren't meant for today's list. Get this stuff out of your head. I write lists because there is something magical. Actually, it's not even magical. There is brain science behind it that when you write with a pen and paper instead of like a keyboard onto the computer, it is actually understood and processed in a much more logical way in your brain. I also have ADHD. If you listen to my first episode, I was just diagnosed recently. If I have all this stuff swirling around in my head, I can promise you probably 1 task that day will get done. When you know that it's out of your head, you then don't have to keep trying to remember that list and keep scrolling mentally trying to find it. You can now say, oh, that's right, it's on the list for next week. Today's task is the meeting at 11:10 with so-and-so, or marking that maths test before I leave at 3 p.m. today, and photocopying the 10 quick questions a day program revision sheets for the start of the day tomorrow. Get all this stuff out of your head, compartmentalize it down onto paper, and I can tell you it is going to feel like a breath of fresh air that you actually have capacity in your mind to think about things that you actually want to do and that brings you joy. Number 5, break down all your goals, all your tasks just into smaller chunks. When we can start chunking these things down into more manageable tasks, this will help you feel like a sense of accomplishment and avoid procrastination, because you think, oh, well, this is only a 2-minute task. I can do anything for 2 minutes. I can do hard things. It's going to be easier for you to get them done and to tick them off. And when you have a tick on that to-do list done, then it is so much easier to go, you know what? I can give something else another go. For example, those dreaded report cards. This is something that you can start right now to start your report cards. No matter where you are in teacher life or throughout the teacher year, start them now, no matter where you are in the term. This could be your first day. Then you can start writing down behavior management or the behavior comments. Open a doc, start your notes. This is your first day, like I said, so that's okay. You can start writing your behavior comments on each child. You don't need 2 terms to see what the behavior is going to be for every child. Even if you're wrong and that quiet child all of a sudden changes into the class clown, it can always be changed. It's not likely that that will happen. When we sit down to do our report cards, all our behavior comments are done. All you have to do is then cut and paste into the report card. I can promise you, this will be like Christmas with a special bow wrapped around it and a big gift that has been given to you. Start doing this with the rest of your comments. Sometimes I would do this and I would have a special report card folder and all my comments would go in there. Then I would forget about it and then it would come around to report card time and I would sit down, open up my laptop, open up the report card file, and there were all my comments that I had forgotten that I had written. And I would just sit there and I would put them into my report card and clickety boom, they were done. Delegate tasks is number 6. If possible, delegate tasks to your students, your colleagues, support staff at home, to your kids, or other family members, whatever the task is called to do. So you don't have to be all things to all people. This is what has got all of us teachers stuck in the first place. We think that we have to do everything, that we have to say yes, and that we have to organize and prioritize and do everything for everyone else first before us. Well, I can give you a really big permission tick here to say that's not the case. I had jobs for my kids in the classroom. The Sparky, they would turn off the computer, lights, fans, aircon, window monitors. They closed windows, doors. The secretaries, they handed out the worksheets. The waiters, they took out the lunch buckets outside. Delivery drivers, they ran the errands. They did the photocopy run. There was the bookstore operators who handed out the books and the homework folders, etc. My teaching partner walked in one day and she was probably a year or 2 into teaching more than me. But because we never see what other people do, really, once you get your teaching degree, you're just stuck in your own room. You really don't get to see what other teachers are doing. And sometimes the obvious is not so obvious. She walked in at around that 2:45 time where I was delegating, like I was Josh, Daniel, Lauren, windows please, Anthea, fans, Abby, Ava, Luke, homework books, Matt, lock of the back door. Like I was in full flight of delegation. And I remember her standing there in awe and saying, do you get the kids to do all these things? I was like, yeah, do you think I'm going to be doing it? When there are 25 very capable grade 3s here to do it, and they love it. Don't kids just love a job to do? This can help reduce your workload when you're delegating, and it allows you to focus on tasks that actually require your expertise, which could be quickly marking some homework sheets, or it could be quickly creating a plan for tomorrow or a lesson plan or an activity tomorrow. When we get to understand that everything is energy, and when you picture your teacher day as a battery, and I talk about this in the masterclass, and the link below, if you're interested, is to that masterclass where I really go through this analogy of a battery. At 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning, or when you wake up at 5 o'clock, that battery is full. And by 9, I don't know about you, but I'm halfway gone in my battery power. It starts with worrying about what to do for the day if I haven't written my to-do list the night before, what I'm going to wear, school lunches for Ava, packing those lunches. Has Ava got her swimming things for squad? Is it netball training for today? Is it her athletics boots for athletics training? I hand that form to her principal for signing. What time is it that I have to get ready? What am I wearing today? I wore those shoes yesterday. What's for dinner tonight? Did I buy dinner for tonight? Did I text back my friend Nicole to confirm our catch-up Friday night? And on it goes. My battery depletes quickly from the moment that I wake up in the morning, these 15-minute slots are filled up pretty quickly. That if I don't delegate and if I don't have my to-do list and my columns filled out with what's important for that day, that battery is dead. It is empty by 10 a.m. And I don't want that for you. Please start implementing some of these strategies above and make sure that your battery can still be half full by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And when that does happen, then you've got that other half of that battery left to go to that yoga class, to do that pottery class, to go for that walk in the afternoon, to go to a movie because you've got energy to do so before you go to bed at night. Number 7 is say no, and this leads into that point above about delegating. Learn to say no. It's a complete sentence. Don't be afraid to say no to tasks that are not essential or are beyond your capacity to complete. This can help you avoid taking on too much and feeling overwhelmed. I learned this early on in my personal development journey, and it has served me greatly. Now, I'm not going to say that I learnt this fast, but I gradually did become a great person at saying no, and now I am a ninja at saying no. I think that can actually be a poster made for me, or I'll put that on a website or something because it's absolutely perfect. I think that needs to be a meme across the Instagrams and the interwebs. I am a ninja at saying no. That needs to be put up in every classroom and teacher staff room globally because that's a lesson that we really need to learn. I relief teach at schools from time to time, and I'm a teacher through and through, and I love it. It really fills my bucket when I go in there and do a relief teacher day, only because then I can have days or months in between to recharge, and then I'm good to go again. And principals asked me to do contracts, and before I would never have created boundaries or laid out what I was comfortable to do. I will say, hey, that's fine. I only do a small contract for a week. I don't do staff meetings on short contracts because I'm not getting paid for them. Complete waste of time. Now, principals for those people on contracts, we're only getting paid 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. We are already giving you 15 minutes starting at 8:45 in the morning, and that, we won't be doing any more work after 3 o'clock. Obviously, teachers are teachers. We're going to do a great job. I am already at home, and even on a contract, I would be doing a minimum of 5 hours work in my time at home to prepare for those classes. Relief teachers don't need to sit there for an hour of a staff meeting listening to the new playground maintenance update. They could be putting that time into engaging lessons for tomorrow's teaching. I also say I don't use a laptop and I don't get signed up to all the email systems. I am talking to the teacher that I am relieving every day, all the time. I generally have their text messages, so I'm not completely in the dark. And anything else, admin will tell me. And I also have my principal's number, so they're messaging me with things. So, these laptops, they never work anyway. I spend more time trying to get apps to work or my email to work over that 5-day contract than actually teaching the lessons that I need to teach. I'm 47 and I know what I can and can't do now for my mental health on these contracts or on a relief teacher day. And that is just me laying very clear boundaries as a relief teacher when I go into support schools. And I hope that more teachers can do the same and put down their boundaries. As teachers, we just say yes, but it's about time that if we want things to change in this career, we need to have the profession to work for us. And in turn, when the profession can work for us, it will work for the school and it will work for the most important people of all in these schools, and that's our students. I just hope this has given you some food for thought on next time using the word no to create some boundaries and more time for yourself. Now, number 8 is taking regular breaks. You should also be sure to take regular breaks throughout the day if you can. It can be tempting to keep going and push yourself, but it's important to remember that taking regular breaks can help you recharge and stay motivated. Yeah, cool, Cindy, I hear you say, but I'm a teacher, remember? Nice to have those uninterrupted lunch breaks you might have because you don't work full time, but I do, and there are no leisurely, boozy lunch breaks in my teacher day. This is going to be a contentious issue, this one, so don't go DMing me, but I'm going to put it on the record here and say, shock horror, that it is okay to set quiet tasks during class time so you can gain some composure, prepare for your next lesson, and to regulate your nervous system. We cannot be on all of the time. No profession is. Neither can our kids, and I hope this podcast helps you to start to create these boundaries for yourself So it empowers you to either implement some downtime in your teaching, or it gives you the courage to say no next time another task is added to your already full teacher plate. When I listen to my business coach or podcasts from life coaches and motivational coaches, I really have to laugh when they say things like, take regular breaks when it comes too much throughout the day, take a short walk, practice deep breathing, meditate, take time away from the task to ground yourself. You might already be connected to some big spiritual or self-help coaches. Like I know a lot of teachers now I see on Instagram are really diving deep into mindfulness and the positive self-talk and self-development and things like that. But here are some people that I listen to: Gabby Bernstein, Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, Lewis Howell, Rhonda Byrne, Abraham Hicks, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Anthony Robbins. If you listen like I did when I was a full-time teacher, I still felt lost and not good enough listening to them because they never gave me the strategies of how to do this as a teacher, because I didn't have an hour to do some mindfulness in the room next door in a spare office. You know, I was hearing these motivational talks and the actions that I should take through the eyes of someone talking to business owners and to office workers and to corporate people, or just lucky ducks who get their 10-minute breaks that turn into 30 or their hour breaks that turn into 50. But as we know, teachers, we don't have that luxury. And that's why I want to bring these mindfulness, these mindset, this personal development talk, the self-help, the psychology of what it takes to teach these days, these topics to you, to this podcast. You don't need to search out these other people so much. But if you do, you can then come back here to learn the actionable steps for mindfulness through the steps and the examples that I provide for teachers, and not those that have all the time in the world to meditate in an office during their lunch break. Number 9, pay yourself some credit. Finally, don't forget to give yourself some credit for all the hard work that you are doing, all the amazing things that you are doing with these students every day, whether it's grading papers or preparing materials for your students, for helping that little kid that needed a hug today, for all the counseling that we do for every day, for the food that we're providing for these kids that don't come to school with lunches. It's easy to forget all the hours that you put into creating a learning environment for your student that actually is paying off for every single one of them. Take a break from time to time, and that is take a break from the negative self-talk and putting yourself down, and just enjoy the feeling of knowing that you're making a difference in someone's life and that you're worth it and you are deserving of this title as teacher. And again, back to batching. If you batch throughout the term holidays, spend one day doing all the worksheets and photocopying, and trust me, you will have all the time during the term to leave at 3 p.m. so you can take this time to give yourself credit, to take yourself to the movies, to take yourself to a beautiful afternoon tea before going home to then start your parenting role if you're a mum or a parent. You can go to that pottery class or that earring making class because you want to start that side hustle. 10, know when your energy is at its highest. Mine is 5 to about 11 o'clock in the day. When you have to do those tasks you don't want to do, tackle them at your highest time when you feel motivated. Like I talked to a relief teacher a couple of days ago. She was a full-time teacher at the school that I relief teach sometimes at as well. And she just said, I just do not have any motivation. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she's taught all day. And then 4 o'clock in the afternoon, she says, I am on fire until 2 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't matter when your energy is the highest. It's whatever works for you and whatever gets the jobs done. Number 11, I think we're coming to the end here, is seeking support. Reach out to colleagues, friends, or family members for support. Discussing your challenges with others can help you gain perspective and find solutions. If you're struggling with teacher overload and you're feeling overwhelmed, consider seeking professional help from a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist. They can provide you with strategies to manage stress and improve your overall well-being. Sometimes having someone else's perspective, someone who isn't in the thick of teacher life, might be able to see the forest for the trees where you can't, can really help with your mental health, your decision-making, and your goal setting. Sometimes we can't see the answers when others outside our circle can very clearly see them. You can also reach out to me. I'm your teacher bestie with coaching. And if you want that support of a teacher, who has seen and experienced everything that you are feeling and has the tried and tested actions to make things better. If you want that coaching, the links are below to get in contact with me. I hope these tips helped you start managing your teacher overload or working life. Teaching can be a daunting task, but with some careful planning and positive attitude, you'll start to have time for more of the things that you enjoy. Teaching becomes that part-time focus in your life, and your personal time, your happiness, your family, and the things that you enjoy doing become the full-time part of your life. Thank you again for listening. Please share to help more teachers with some new techniques to help reduce their overwhelm, and I look forward to creating the next episode for you right now. Thank you for listening today. I take your time very seriously and appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with me. Now, before you go, please take a quick minute to rate and give a 5-star review. Our little podcast community that you and I are building together. Your review will help me so much to reach more teachers to help and support. Now, until next episode, you can head to the website Lizard Learning for all the resources to empower your teacher life. And I'll see you in the next episode.